भागवत प्राण श्रीमद भागवत प्रभो कलिध्वांतोदितादित्य श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तित परमानंद पाठाय प्रेम वर्ष चराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्या श्री कृष्णाय नमस्तु मे मधुक बंधो मत्संग मद्गुरो मन महाधना मन निस्तारक मद्भाग्य मदानंद नमस्ते असाधु साधुतादायी अतिनीचोच्चताकर आनमुंच कदाचिन माम प्रेमना हृत्कंठयो स्फुरा ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. What? It doesn't display Unicode at all. Do with this, that's all. Okay. 1.18.14 to 1.18.23. को नाम तृप्येद रसवित् कथायां महत्तमैकान्त परायणस्य नान्तं गुणानाम् अगुणस्य जग्मो योगेश्वराये भवपाद्म मुख्याः. The personality of God, Lord Krishna, Govinda, is the exclusive shelter for all great living beings, and his transcendental attributes cannot even be measured by such masters of mystic powers as Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Can anyone who is expert in relishing nectar, rasa, ever be fully satiated by hearing topics about him? I know. Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are the two chiefs of the demigods. They're full of mystic powers. For example, Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison, of which one drop was sufficient to kill an ordinary living being. Similarly, Brahma could create many powerful demigods, including Lord Shiva. So they are Ishwaras or lords of the universe, but they are not the supremely powerful. The supremely powerful is Govinda, Lord Krishna. He is the transcendence, and his transcendental attributes cannot be measured even by such powerful Ishwaras as Shiva and Brahma. Therefore, Lord Krishna is the exclusive shelter of the greatest of all living beings. Brahma is counted amongst the living beings, but he is the greatest of all of us. And why is the greatest of all the living beings so much attached to the transcendental topics of Lord Krishna? Because he is the reservoir of all enjoyment. Why is this thing not opening? Everyone wants to relish some kind of taste in everything. But one who is engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord can derive unlimited pleasure from such engagement. The Lord is unlimited, and his name, attributes, pastimes, entourage, variegatedness, etc., are unlimited, and those who relish them can do so unlimitedly and still not feel satiated. This fact is confirmed in the Padma Purana. Namante yogino nante satyananda chidatmani itirama padenaso param brahma diyate. The mystics derive unlimited transcendental pleasures from the absolute truth, and therefore the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is also known as Rama. There is no end to transcendental discourses. In the mundane affairs, there is a law of satiation, but in transcendence, there is no such satiation. Suta Goswami desired to continue the topics of Lord Krishna before the sages of Naimisharanya, and the sages also expressed their readiness to hear from him continuously. Since the Lord is transcendence and his attributes are transcendental, such discourses increase the receptive mood of the purified audience. Oh, come on. I think it's still not open. Okay, what I'll do is I'll just open Bhavarta Deepika. Brahma Sandarbha separately. It's the only way. So it's not a way, not a way, not a way, not a way. Unless there is some way. It's need to get rid of those. This also takes forever. Again, it's taking forever. एवं सत्संगम विनंत्य प्रवणोत्सुक्यम आविष्कुर्वन्ति को नामेति. The sages, having congratulated such satsanga, now they reveal their extreme desire for hearing. O nama, rasavit, rasagyaha, mahattamanam ekantena, paramayanam ashrayo yas tasya kathayam, agunasya, prakrita gunarahitasya, kalyana gunanam, antam yo yogeshwaraha te api na jagmuho. Here, the word agunasya comes. Agunasya. Agunasya, according to Sridhar Swami, means the one who is devoid of material qualities. That is the transcendence. Even the Yogeshwaras, they are not able to um, find out the limit of his auspicious qualities. Etavanta iti na parigana yam chakruhu. They are not able to conclude uh, this much. This is the limit of his transcendental qualities. Bhavaha Shivaha Padmaha Brahma cha Mukhyo Yesham te. Rama Sandarbha. It's also a second canto. Yogasya, Bhakti Yogasya, Ishvara, Datum, Adatum cha Samarthaha. Even the Yogeshwaras, Yogeshwara can mean masters of mystic powers. But it can also refer to those who are masters of Bhakti Yoga and who are capable. So he's splitting the word Yogeshwara as the one who are capable of giving or not giving Bhakti Yoga. Chakravarti Thakur. सत्यमेव प्रशस्यते साधुसंगो यतः तं विना कृष्णकथा आस्वादो न लभ्यते स युष्माभिर्लब्धः एव इति किं पुनः तस्यैव पौनः पुण्येन इति अतः आह को नामेति. Yes, it's a fact that sadhu sangha is very much glorified, because without sadhu sangha one cannot attain a of a relish for Krishna Katha. You have attained that. Rasavid rasagyaschet. Tada ko nama mahattama nama ekantena paramayana. Chinmayana. The qualities of the Supreme Lord are spiritual. Oh, but I have to also. Atmana, Naradadina. But finally, this thing is taking forever. Nacha sakrit sat prasangena. Isnasah tadasvado labhyeta. It is not possible to attain taste for Krishna Katha just like that, because his qualities are unlimited. Qualities such as Sarvaishwarya, Sarvagya, Sauharda, Bhakta Bandhutva, his um, absolute opulence, his absolute controlling power, his omniscience, his being the supreme well-wisher, his being a friend of the devotees. These are all intrinsic to him. Even the Yogeshwaras cannot, they have not reached the limit of it. Tatacha sarvadaiva satsanga prarthiha iti. So therefore one should seek sadhu sangha under all circumstances. Good. 15. तन्नो भवान् वै भगवत्प्रधानो महात्मैकान्तपरायणस्य हरेरुदारं चरितं विशुद्धं शुश्रूषतां नो वितनोति विद्वन्. Suta Goswami, you are a learned and pure devotee of the Lord, because the personality of Godhead is your chief object of service. Therefore, please describe to us the pastimes of the Lord, which are above all material conception, for we are anxious to receive such messages. Naha अस्माकं मध्ये भगवान् प्रधानं सेव्यः यस्य स भवान् न शुश्रूषतां हरेश्चरितुं विस्तारयतु. Please elaborate on the activities of Lord Hari to us. Vishuddham, activities which are Vishuddham, transcendental. Mayatitam, which are beyond Maya, which are transcendental to Maya. Tat Tasmad Bhavana. The speaker on the transcendental activities of the Lord should have only one object of worship and service, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the audience for such topics should be anxious to hear about it. When such a combination is possible, namely a qualified speaker and a qualified audience, it is then and there very much congenial to continue discourses on the transcendental. A professional speaker and a materially absorbed audience cannot derive real benefit from such discourses. Professional speakers make a show of Bhagavata Saptaha for the sake of family maintenance, and the materially disposed audience hears such discourses of Bhagavata Saptaha for some material benefit, namely religiosity, wealth, gratification of the senses, or liberation. Such Bhagavatam discourses are not purified from the contamination of the material qualities, but the discourses between the saints of Naimisharanya and Sri Suta Goswami are on the transcendental level. There is no motive for material gain. In such discourses, unlimited transcendental pleasure is relished by both the audience and the speaker, and therefore they can continue the topics for many thousands of years. Bhagavata Saptahas are held for 7 days only, and after finishing the show, both the audience and the speaker become engaged in material activities as usual. They do so because the speaker is not Bhagavad Pradhana and the audience is not Shushushata, as explained above. The audience is not Shushuta. Shushushata means the audience is not uh, referred to by the word Shushushata. The audience is not eager to hear and obey the Bhagavatam. The speaker has not um, accepted the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the chief object of service. 16. Savai Mahabhagavatah Parikshit Yena Bhavakakya Madabha Buddhi Jnanena Vayyasaki Shabditena Bheje Khagendra Dvachapada Moolam. Vasudha Goswami, please describe those topics of the Lord by which Maharaj Parikshit, whose intelligence was fixed on liberation, attained the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of Garuda, the king of birds. Those topics were vibrated by the son of Vyasa, Ila, Shukadeva. Tacha Shuka Parikshit Samvadena Kathaya Ityahu Sava Itidvamya. Then in two verses beginning with text 16, they request, please present to us Krishna Katha as it was presented in the conversation between Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. By this jnana sadhana, by this process of transcendental knowledge, bhakti is also considered to be a process by which one attains spiritual knowledge. So sometimes bhakti is referred to as jnana. Jnana means that process by which one attains spiritual realization. Since bhakti can provide that, bhakti is also considered to be jnana. Just as karma refers to activities which are prescribed in the Vedas. And in that sense, jnana is also some kind of karma. But it is a spiritual karma. Bhakti is also karma, but it is spiritual karma of the supreme type. So like that, bhakti also is a superior form of jnana. Pavarga ityakya yasya tat khagendra dvajasya hare padamulam bheje. Apavarga akyam khagendra dvajapada moolam. Attainment of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord is what is known as liberation. No, Jnanadeva Moksha iti. I thought there was a question somewhere. Who is Bhakti Devi? Tulsi Maharani is Bhakti Devi. No, that's disputed. Bhakti Devi appears to be an expansion of Radharani. Prabhupada writes Bhakti is an expansion of Radharani. ननु ज्ञानादेव मोक्ष इति ज्ञानाय तत्फलाय मोक्षाय च कथं न स्पृहयथ इति चेत् अस्माकं भक्तानां भगवच्चरित आस्वादनं ज्ञानं तत्फलं भगवत्पाद प्राप्तिरेव मोक्ष इति परीक्षित दृष्ट्यैवाहुः. Then they anticipate an objection. It is well known that through the process of jnana, one attains the goal of liberation. Therefore, why don't all of you hanker for hanker to perform the process of jnana and to attain its goal, liberation? So they speak the current verse, basically conveying this point. For us devotees, relishing the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that itself is the process of knowledge. And the result of that, which is attaining the lotus feet of Bhagavan, which means to attain uninterrupted, unmotivated service to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. That itself is moksha. We say that on the basis of Parikshit Maharaj himself. Please expand on please elaborate on the activities of the Supreme Lord, because of which Parikshit Maharaj attained the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nanu Dwadasha Skandhe Parikshit Apavargam Prapeti Prasiddhi. Another anticipated objection. It is well known that Parikshit attained liberation from the 12th canto. Satyam, that's true. Apavarga iti akhya yasya tad bhaktair bhagavat pada moolam eva apavarga uchyate. Attainment of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the devotees of that Supreme Lord is what is known as apavarga, is what is known as liberation. Vakshyate cha panchama skandhe, as it will be stated in the 5th canto. Yatha varna vidhanam apavargascha bhavati yosau bhagavati bhakti yoga iti. 5th canto, 5.19.19 to 20. There, bhakti yoga itself is referred to as apavarga. Yena katham bhutena vayyasaki shabditena. How did Parikshit Maharaj attain that? Through the sounds vibrated by Vaiyasaki, the son of Vyasadeva. Yathaiva tatpadamulam apavarga shabdena uchyate, tathaiva tatcharitomapi jnana shabdena Vaiyasaki na uchyate. Just as attainment of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is referred to by the word apavarga, liberation. Similarly, the description of the activities of the Supreme Lord, that is referred to by Vaiyasaki as jnana. Ato jnanena parikshit apavargam prapeti prasiddhir na anrita ityartha. Therefore, it is that well-known idea that Parikshit attained apavarga through jnana is not false. Etena sapretya gatavan yatha iti prashnasya uttaram uttam. This is an answer to the question posed in 1.12.2. There is some controversy amongst the students on the path of liberation. Such transcendental students are known as impersonalists and devotees of the Lord. The devotee of the Lord worships the transcendental form of the Lord, whereas the impersonalist meditates upon the glaring effulgence or the bodily rays of the Lord, known as the Brahmajyoti. Here in this verse, it is said that Maharaj Parikshit attained the lotus feet of the Lord by instructions and knowledge delivered by the son of Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami. Shukadeva Goswami was also an impersonalist at the beginning, as he himself has admitted in the Bhagavatam 2.1.9. But later on, he was attracted by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord and thus became a devotee. Such devotees with perfect knowledge are called Mahabhagavatas, or first-class devotees. There are 3 classes of devotees, namely the Prakrita, Madhyama, and Mahabhagavata. The Prakrita, or third-class devotees, are temple worshippers without specific knowledge of the Lord and the Lord's devotees. Knowledge in Vedanta Darshan generally refers to either the process of knowledge or understanding, realization. The process of knowledge is also meant to lead us to understanding, realization. The Madhyama or the second class devotee knows well the Lord, the Lord's devotees and neophytes and the non-devotees also. But the Mahabhagavata or the first class devotee sees everything in relation with the Lord and the Lord present in everyone's relation. The Mahabhagavata therefore does not make any distinction between devotee and non-devotee. Maharaj Parikshit was such a Mahabhagavata devotee because he was initiated by a Mahabhagavata devotee, Shukadeva Goswami. He was equally kind even to the personality of Kali and what to speak of others. Vishnu Rahasya, there's a Pancharatrika text which says there are two kinds of initiation. Antardiksha, Bahirdiksha. This Bahirdiksha or external initiation that contains various elements that are also separately enumerated as Pancha Samskara, the 5 sacraments of initiation. Antardiksha is internally surrendering unto the Supreme Lord through the spiritual master. And, sometimes Prabhupada or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they refer to Diksha, initiation, in terms of internal initiation. For instance, Divyam Jnanam Yatodadya, Puryat Papasya Sankhayam, Tasmad Diksheti Saprapta, Reshikeris Tattva Kovidari. It's a verse which is referred to by Jiva Goswami in Bhakti Sandarbha. And Prabhupada quotes it to explain Dikshasti Chet in Upadeshamrita. D stands for Divya Gyan, transcendental knowledge. Ksha stands for Papakshaya, extinguishing the sinful reactions in the heart. So Diksha is that process by which one attains realized knowledge of the Supreme Lord and his sinful reactions are extinguished. So this is another reference to internal initiation. The idea is that when we surrender to the Vaishnava spiritual master and externally undergo the 5 sacraments of initiation, internally we should surrender unto Krishna's lotus feet. Shadanga Sharanagati. He was equally kind, even to the personality of Kali and what to speak of others. So there are many instances in the transcendental histories of the world of an impersonalist who has later become a devotee, but a devotee has never become an impersonalist. This very fact proves that on the transcendental steps, the step occupied by a devotee is higher than the step occupied by an impersonalist. It is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita 12.5 that persons stuck on the impersonal step undergo more sufferings than achievement of reality. Therefore, the knowledge imparted by Shukadeva Goswami unto Maharaj Parikshit helped him attain the service of the Lord. And this stage of perfection is called Apavarga, or the perfect stage of liberation. Simple knowledge of liberation is material knowledge. Actual freedom from material bondage is called liberation. But attainment of the transcendental service of the Lord is called the perfect stage of liberation. Such a stage is attained by knowledge and renunciation, as we have already explained 1.2.12. And perfect knowledge as delivered by Srila Shukadeva Goswami results in the attainment of the transcendental service of the Lord. 17. Tannah param punyam asamvritartham akhyanamadhyadbhutayoganishtham akhyahyananto ananta charitopapannam parikshitam bhagavatabhiramam. Thus, please narrate to us the narrations of the unlimited, for they are purifying and supreme. They were spoken to Maharaj Parikshit, and they are very dear to the pure devotees, being full of bhakti yoga. Why do I have like this? Right. तद्धिदम् असंवृतार्थम् तद्धिदम् असंवृतार्थम् यथा तथा आख्याहि तदेव निर्दिशन्ति परीक्षिते कथितं पारीक्षितमाख्यानं श्रीभागवतं पुराणम् Parikshitam refers to the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is spoken to Maharaj Parikshit. Param Punyam Sattva Shodhakam, purifying, purifying the heart. Atyadbhute yoge nishthayasya tasya acharitarupanam yuktam ateva bhagavatanam abhiramam etir कर्म ज्ञान भक्ति योग प्रकाश त्वं दर्शितम. So by the adjectives used here, it is pointed out that karma jnana and bhakti yoga, all of them are revealed in Srimad Bhagavatam, true nature. Tamnah param itya atra avantara tatparyena dharma jnana prakashikatvepi mukhya tatparyena bhaktereva prakashikatvam bhagavataviramamiti. But the word Bhagavatavirama, particularly very dear to the pure devotees of the Lord, indicates that the primary intention of Srimad Bhagavatam is to reveal bhakti, even though it also reveals the nature of dharma and jnana. Ata etat praguktam savai mahabhagavata. Therefore, previously, text 1.18.16 was stated, the previous verse. Yadva param punyam paramashodhakam yataha atyadbhuta yogaha bhakti yogas tannishtham ityadi. Another interpretation of this verse is that all of these adjectives are adjectives of Bhakti Yoga itself. What was spoken to Maharaj Parikshit and what is very dear to the pure devotees is Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is mainly full of the narrations of the activities of the Supreme Unlimited, and therefore it is a science of Bhakti Yoga or the devotion service of the Lord. Thus it is para or supreme, because although it is enriched with all knowledge and religion, it is specifically enriched with the devotion service of the Lord. 18. Suto Vacha. Aho vayam janma bhritodhyahasma vriddhanuvrityapri viloma jata Tauskulyamadhim vithinoti shighram mahattamanam abhidhana yoga. Sri Suta Goswami said, "Oh God, although we are born in a mixed caste, we are still promoted in birthright simply by serving and following the great souls who are advanced in knowledge. Even by conversing with such great souls, one can without delay cleanse oneself of all disqualifications resulting from a lower birth. Mahadbhi Satkritam Sri Bhagavata Vyakhyanaya Dattasanam Swam Shlagate." Now, Suta Goswami, he himself praises the fact that he has been given the seat in order to explain Sri Bhagavata. And this arrangement has been made by great souls. They are the ones who have honored him with such a seat. Suta Jatitva Viloma Jata, because he was born in the Suta caste. This is a Viloma caste. Pratiloma Javi. This is a when the wife is superior to husband in Varna, then the children are or Pratilomaja. They are born out of inverse combination. There is Savarna combination, there is Anuloma combination, and there is Pratiloma combination. Savarna means the husband and wife both belong to the same Varna. Anuloma means the husband's Varna is superior to the wife's Varna. And Pratiloma means the wife's varna is superior to the husband's varna. So even though Sutta Goswami says in delight that even though we have taken birth from the Sutta Jati, the Sutta caste, which is actually a Pratiloma caste, born out of a combination of, born out of Pratiloma combination. Still, Vayam Jnanavridhanam Bhavatanam Anuvritya Sevaya Janmabhratah Safala Janmanaha Jata Asmaha. We, by serving all of you who are elderly by knowledge, who are superior by knowledge, since you are mature in spiritual knowledge, understanding, realization, by continuous service to you, my life has become successful. तो महात्मानां भवादृशानाम् अभिधानयोगः लौकिकः अपि सम्भाषणसम्बन्धः. Because we have attained the ability to even converse with you. Daushkalyamadhim Vishkulatva Manahpidam Dhanoti Vinashayati. This ability to converse with you has cleansed us of the disqualifications resulting from a lower birth. Disqualifications resulting from a lower birth refers to manahpidam, mental anxiety. I remember Pankajangiri Prabhu explained this point. He said, in a lower birth, just from birth, automatically the mind is in anxiety. Whereas in higher births, just automatically the mind is peaceful. So it looks like certain types of combinations lead to higher births or lower births. And in lower births, the mind is automatically in tamoguna or in rajoguna. Automatically, it has its default position. I didn't understand that in the past, but he explained it. Jnanavriddhah shukah tasya sevaya iti va. Vriddhanuvritya api viloma jata. Vriddhanuvritya, by serving those who are advanced in knowledge, can also refer to his service to Shukadeva Goswami by hearing him. तादृश ब्रह्मर्षीन् प्रति स्वयं तादृश महापुराणम् उपदेष्टुं संकुचं तत्र तन्महिमानम् एव अवलम्बते अहो इति युग्मकेन. In two verses beginning with text 18, he expresses that his support for teaching them such an exalted great Puranas, to such exalted spiritual rishis, is simply the glory that he circumstantially happens to possess, despite his shyness. Vilomajata api vayam adyaiva janmabhrita uttama janmantaram labdhavanta asma dvijatvavat. Even though we are born from a Viloma combination, a Pratiloma combination, today itself we have attained a superior birth, like a twice born. Katham, how is that? Vriddhanam, Hattamanam, Bhavatam, Anuvritya, Etan Mahaprana Kathana Pravartana Atmakena, Angikarena. Because I have engaged in this service to you by speaking to you this great Purana. And you are all very great souls. It can also refer to great souls such as Sri Shukadeva Goswami. अद्य अस्मिन् एतादृश भवद् अङ्गीकार समये विलोमजत्वानुवृत्तौ तत्र योग्यत्वानि. these sages, they have given him the ability, they have had a desire to give him the ability to speak on Sri Bhagavatam. Therefore, even though he was born from a condemned birth, his life has become successful. This is how Sudha Goswami is thinking. Sudha Goswami did not take his birth in a Brahmana family. He was born in a family of mixed caste or an uncultured low family. But because of higher association like Sri Shukadeva Goswami and the great rishis of Naimisharanya, certainly the disqualification of inferior birth was washed off. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu followed this principle in pursuance of the Vedic usages, and by his transcendental association, he elevated many low-born men or those disqualified by birth or action to the status of devotional service and established them in the position of acharyas or authorities. He clearly stated that any man, whatever he may be, whether a Brahmana or Shudra by birth or a householder or mendicant by social order, can be accepted as an acharya or guru, a spiritual master, if he is conversant with the science of Krishna. Sutta Goswami learned the science of Krishna from great rishis and authorities like Shukadeva and Vyasadeva. And he was so qualified that even the sages of Naimisharanya eagerly wanted to hear from him the science of Krishna in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he had the double association of great souls by hearing and preaching. The transcendental science or the science of Krishna has to be learned from the authorities. And when one becomes conversant in the science and preaches it, he becomes still more qualified. So Sutta Goswami had both the advantages, and thus undoubtedly he was completely freed from all disqualifications of low birth and mental agonies. This verse definitely proves that Sutta Goswami's inferior birth did not cause either Srila Shukadeva Goswami to refuse to teach him about the transcendental science or the sages of Naimisharanya to refuse to hear lessons from him. This means that thousands of years ago, there was no bar to learning or preaching the transcendental science because of inferior birth. The rigidity of the so-called caste system in Hindu society became prominent only within the last 100 years or so, when the number of Dvijabandhus or disqualified men in the families of higher castes increased. There's also some evidence about I have seen a Sanskritist, a Sanskrit scholar, a teacher, he's a professor somewhere in North India. He explained what is the meaning of Shudras cannot study the Vedas, what actually it means. He comes to the conclusion, he provides a lot of evidence, and he comes to the conclusion that this means they cannot memorize and propagate what they have memorized. It's not that they cannot understand what it means, they cannot, all of those things are allowed. Only that they cannot memorize, because that is a specific duty of the Brahmanas, those who have the guna karma of Brahmana. I think, if I remember correctly, he accepts varnas by guna karma also. That's also another thing. But apart from that, he says that the evidence points out to this fact that anybody could study them. Anybody could study, anybody could learn. Lord Chaitanya revived the original Vedic system and he elevated Thakur Haridas with the position of Namacharya, or the authority in preaching the glories of the holy name of the Lord, although His Holiness Srila Haridas Thakur was pleased to appear in a family of Mohammedans. Now, if you examine the description of Haridas Thakur's disappearance in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his divine body and danced and then buried that body. And this was seen by so many people in Jagannath Puri. Then after that, the Lord went and he begged from the shopkeepers for prasadam with which to have a feast. And the shopkeepers also gave. So from this we understand that even Odisha is generally considered to be most caste conscious. But even there we see that somebody like Haridas Thakur, who was not just from a lower caste, he is completely non-Hindu by birth. But even he was being honored. Even he was being honored by the people of Jagannath Puri. They did not refuse to give food and so on. Even though Haridas Thakur himself was sitting in Siddhabhapur and chanting, and Lord Chaitanya would every day go, and Haridas Thakur did not want to come inside the temple. Still, we see that the people they were very respectful to Haridas Thakur, accepted him as a great Acharya. They accepted him. So that is why Prabhupada is saying that he became prominent only within a short while, not see within 100, 200 years or so. It was not so wild before. Such is the power of pure devotees of the Lord. Ganges water is accepted as pure, and one can become purified by taking a bath in the waters of the Ganges. But as far as the great devotees of the Lord are concerned, they can purify a degraded soul even by being seen by the low-born. What to speak of association? That means even when the low-born see the great devotees of the Lord, such degraded souls can be purified. So what to speak of when they associate? Association means dadati pratikrishnadi vikshimakhyadi vikshari bhumte bhojete chaiva shadvitam priti lakshanam. This is called association. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to purify the whole atmosphere of the polluted world by sending qualified preachers all over the world to preach the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. And it remains with the Indians to take up this task scientifically and just do the best kind of humanitarian work rather than performing some stereotype, imitation philanthropic work such as opening hospitals. Now, opening hospitals and all are just pious activities. Yes, householders should engage in pious activities. That's fine. But we should not promote this as the application of Bhakti Yoga, which is something absolutely stupid. Building hospitals and so on. If it can help us in propagating Krishna consciousness, fine, we'll do it. We can accept any pious activity in order to propagate Hari Bhakti. It is fine. But we should carefully distinguish between those activities and Hari Bhakti themselves. The mental diseases of the present generation are more acute than bodily diseases. It is quite fit and proper to take up the preaching of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world without delay. Mahattamanam Abhidhana also means a dictionary of great devotees or a book full of the words of great devotees. Such books of the words, great devotees and those of the Lord are the Vedas and allied literature, specifically the Srimad Bhagavatam. Mahattamanam Abhidhana Yoga means that now I have become, I've attained a connection with the Abhidhana of the Mahattamas, of the greatest souls, the greatest amongst the living beings, or the pure devotees of the Lord. So Abhidhana can simply mean conversation, which means now I have attained a connection with, conversation with these great souls, because Pratilomas are generally not allowed to converse. So at least I've been allowed to converse. But Abhidhana can also mean dictionary. I have attained the connection with the dictionary of the Mahattamas or a thesaurus of the Mahattamas. In other words, I have attained a connection with the books or the literature, which are the privileged objects of study of these great souls. In other words, now he has the qualification to study the Vedas and so on. 19. Kutah punar granato nama tasya mahattamaikanto parayanasya yonanta shaktir bhagwan ananto mahatgunatvadya manantamahu. And what to speak of those who are under the direction of the great devotees, chanting the holy name of the Unlimited, who has unlimited potency. The personality of God is unlimited in potency and transcendental by attributes is called Ananta, the Unlimited. Ananta uddeshataha karataha cha. The Supreme Lord is beginningless, endless, and is unlimited in space. Kutah punah kim punar vaktavyam tasya anantasya nama granataha pumsaha mahattamaikanto yogo daushkulyam vidhanoti. So, by chanting the holy names of Lord Ananta, naturally, the connection with single-minded great souls can destroy the defects of lower birth. Namagranatah punaha kutah dauskulyam iti. Another meaning. For a person who recites the holy names of Lord Ananta, where is there a question of his lower birth, disqualifications due to lower birth? Yadva granatah pumsaha tasya nama dauskulyam vidhnoti iti kim vaktavyam. For a person who recites his holy name, why should we even consider whether his disqualifications can be removed and so on? Anantaha shakteha yasya, because he has unlimited potencies. Swatopi anantaha. He himself is unlimited. Kimcha mahatsu guna yasya sa mahadgunaha tasya bhavas tasmat. Yam gunatopi anantamahu. Even by qualities, the great souls say that he is unlimited. Nano दौष्कुल्य आरंभकम पापम प्रारब्धमेव तस्य नाशम विना कथम दौष्कुल्य धूननम. Objection. Krishna Chakravarti Thakur brings this up. The sin that brings about a lower birth is prarabdha karma. Without destroying one's prarabdha karma, where is the question of getting rid of the disqualifications of lower birth? Prarabdhasya tu bhogenaiva nashaha iti prasiddhe. It is very well known that prarabdha karma can be destroyed only through experiencing the effects of prarabdha karma. Namatah katham khandayatu. So then, how will it be possible for prarabdha karma to be destroyed by the holy name? Ityataha. With that in mind, he speaks the current verse specifically about the fact that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has unlimited capacity, unlimited potency. Tinam anantya bhakta prarabdhan nashinyapi kachit shaktirasthyeveti bhavaha. Implication is, because he has unlimited potencies, he also has a potency to destroy the prarabdha karma of his devotees. तद्भक्तेषु तदीय गुण संक्रमात् तस्मिन्निव तद्भक्तेऽपि प्रारब्धं न तिष्ठति. Because there is an overflow of his qualities into his devotees, like for himself, there is no prarabdha karma in his devotees. Of course, this refers to those who are engaged in first class devotion service, Uttama Bhakti. Uttama Bhakti means अन्याभिलाषिता शून्यम ज्ञान कर्माद्यनावृतम आनुकूल्येन कृष्णानुशीलनम भक्ति उत्तमा. That standard of bhakti, in which the effect is immediately seen. Satam prarabdha hatva shaktir bhagavad datta asti iti bhavenaha. The Supreme Lord has granted the saintly authorities the potency to remove the prarabdha karma of his devotees. By reciting Krishna's holy name in the association of the very great devotees of the Lord, one's daushkulya, or one's the disadvantages of one's lower birth go away. Bhagavan, Bhagavan, the personality of God. It indicates that he is filled with the six opulences. Anantaha, Ananta, Ananta, Anantam, indicates that he is almighty and all pervading. The Dvijabandhus or the less intelligent, uncultured men born of higher caste put forward many arguments against the principle of lower caste men becoming Brahmanas. In this life, they argue that birth in a family of Shudras or less than Shudras is made possible by one's previous sinful acts, and that therefore, and that one therefore has to complete the terms of disadvantages due to lower birth. And to answer these false logicians, Srimad Bhagavatam asserts that one who chants the holy name of the Lord under the direction of a pure devotee can at once get free from the disadvantages due to a lower caste birth. A pure devotee of the Lord does not commit any offense while chanting the holy name of the Lord. There are 10 different offenses in the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. To chant the holy name under the direction of a pure devotee means to chant offenselessly. Offenseless chanting of the holy name of the Lord is transcendental. Therefore, such chanting can at once purify one from the effects of all kinds of previous sins. This offenseless chanting indicates that one has fully understood the transcendental nature of the holy name and has thus surrendered unto the Lord. Transcendently, the holy name of the Lord and the Lord Himself are identical, being absolute. The holy name of the Lord is as powerful as the Lord. The Lord is the all powerful personality of Godhead. And He has innumerable names, which are all non different from Him and are equally powerful also. In His last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord asserts that one who surrenders fully unto Him is protected from all sins by the grace of the Lord. And since His name and He Himself are identical, the holy name of the Lord can similarly protect the devotee from all effects of sins. The chanting of the holy name of the Lord can undoubtedly deliver one from the disadvantages of a lower caste birth. But we should remember, this chanting refers to offenseless chanting of the name. The Lord's unlimited power is extended on and on by the unlimited expansion of His devotees and incarnations. And thus, every devotee and incarnation can also be equally surcharged with the potency of the Lord. Since the devotee is surcharged with the potency of the Lord, even fractionally, the disqualification due to lower birth cannot stand in the way. What is the transcendental nature of the holy name? The transcendental nature of the holy name is that the holy name of Krishna is non different from Krishna. So that is realized when we chant offenselessly. Prior to that, that realization is not there. We just have some theoretical understanding and knowledge. 20. एतावतालं ननुसूचितेन गुणैरसाम्यातिशायनस्य हित्वेतरान् प्रार्थयतो विभूतिर् यस्याङ्घ्रिरेणुं जुषते न भीप्सोः. It is now ascertained that He, the personality of Godhead, is unlimited and there is none equal to Him. Consequently, no one can speak of Him adequately. Great demigods cannot obtain the favor of the goddess of fortune even by prayers. But this very goddess renders service unto the Lord, although He is unwilling to have such service. This is now elaborated in 3 verses, beginning with text 20. So far, I have indicated that the Supreme Lord has that many qualities that He is unrivaled in the possession of His qualities. He is so great that Lakshmi Devi, she serves Him even though He doesn't require her. She herself is the object of the prayers of Brahma and others. Asatasya ananta gunatvam darshayati etavata. Now the fact that He possesses unlimited qualities is pointed out here. Bahiranga Sampatti Rupa, here Lakshmi refers to His opulence of external prosperity. According to the Shrutis, the personality of Godhead or the Parameshwara Parabrahman has nothing to do. He has no equal, nor does anyone excel Him. He has unlimited potencies, and his every action is carried out systematically and is perfect in his natural and perfect ways. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is full in himself, and he has nothing to accept from anyone else, including the great demigods like Brahma. Others ask for the favor of the goddess of fortune, and despite such prayer, she declines to award such favors. But still, she renders service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he has nothing to accept from her. The personality of Godhead in his Garbhodakshai Vishnu feature begets Brahma, the first created person in the material world, from his navel lotus stem, and not in the womb of the goddess of fortune, who is eternally engaged in his service. These are some of the instances of his complete independence and perfection. The statement that he has nothing to do does not mean he is impersonal. He is transcendently so full of inconceivable potencies that simply by his willing, everything is done without physical or personal endeavor. He is therefore called Yogeshwara, all mystic powers. 21. Athapi yapada nakava srishtam jagadvirinchopakhritarkanambha Chesham punatyanya tamomukunda Onamaloke Bhagavad Padartha. Who can be worthy of the name of the Supreme Lord but the personality of God Shri Krishna? Brahmaji collected the water emanating from the nails of his feet in order to award it to Lord Shiva as a worshipful welcome. This very water, Ganges, is purifying the whole universe, including Lord Shiva. Saiva Sarveshwara Ityartha. Only Lord Mukunda is the Sarveshwara. He is the controller of all. That. The great souls, they accept that he is the one possessing unlimited auspicious qualities. Evam cha jagati sarvotkrishtha Lakshmi Brahma Shiva eva tat padam sevamanaha tasya mahotkarsha suchayanti ti vakyartha. So the idea behind these statements is that Lakshmi, Brahma, Shiva, who are most exalted in the, who are the ones who are more exalted than everyone else in the universe, they are serving his lotus feet. So in that way, all of them are pointing out to his great exalted nature. The conception of many gods in the Vedic literatures by the ignorant is completely wrong. The Lord is one without a second, but he expands himself into many, and this is confirmed in the Vedas. Such expansions of the Lord are limitless. Some of them are the Supreme Lord himself in full, and some are the living entities. The living entities are not as powerful as the Lord's plenary expansions, and therefore there are two different types of expansions. Lord Brahma is generally one of the living entities, and Lord Shiva is between the Lord and the living entities. In other words, even demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, who are the chief amongst all demigods, are never equal to or greater than Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, and all the powerful demigods like Brahma and Shiva are engaged in the worship of Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Therefore, who can be more powerful than Mukunda, Lord Krishna, and thus factually deserve to be called the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Ji, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva are not independently powerful. They are powerful as expansions of the Supreme Lord, and all of them are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. And so also are the living entities. There are 4 sects of worshipful devotees of the Lord. And the chief amongst them are the Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, and Sri Sampradaya, descending directly from Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, respectively. Besides the above mentioned 3 Sampradayas, there is the Kumara Sampradaya, descending from Sanat Kumara. All of the 4 original Sampradayas are still scrupulously engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord up to the present day. And they all declare that Lord Krishna Mukunda is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that no other personality is equal to him or greater than him. 22. Yatranu rakta sahasaiva dhira vyapokya dekha dishu sangamudham vrajanti tatpa ramahamsya mantyam yasmin ahimso pashamasva dharma. self-controlled persons who are attached to the Supreme Lordship can all of a sudden give up the world of material attachment, including the gross body and subtle mind, and go away to attain the highest perfection of the renounced order of life, in which non-violence and renunciation are consequent. Vadharma here, according to Sridhar Swami, refers to Swabhavika Dharma, one's consequent occupation, one's natural occupation. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, this is the first stage of the awakening of love of God, Paramahamsa status. Therefore, one should engage in devotion service to the Supreme Lord. That is a lesson to be learned from this verse. Antyam Paramahamsyam Bhagavad Paramahamsatvam, the final stage of Paramahamsa life, the highest perfection of the renounced order of life. Yes, yeah. Antyam. Paramahamsam Antyam, which indicates that this is a discussion about the highest stage of Paramahamsa life, which is Bhagavata Paramahamsa. There are also impersonalists who accept sannyas order, but this is not a reference to that. This is referring to the Paramahamsas who were surrendered to Bhagavan. Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana sudurlava prashantatma kutishvapi mahamune. Because amongst crores of persons who are already liberated and those who attain spiritual perfection, a Narayana Parayana devotee who is peaceful in his heart is very, very rare to be found. Ahimsa upashamaha. Ahimsa refers to non-violence. That means he's free from jealousy and so on. Upashamaha, renunciation, refers to being fixed on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is based on a famous statement in the 11th canto that Shama, or peace of mind, tranquility, is that which comes about when one is fixed in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shamo manishtata ityukta. Atha drishyamana manishinaha api atrarthe pramanam. Another evidence that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Being and glorious in every manner is the fact that all these intelligent persons who surrender unto Supreme Lord, they also attain the highest stage. Ateva dhiras bhajanti. Therefore, the sober persons engage in devotion service to him, Lord Krishna. In the status of Paramahamsa Ashrama, Ahimsa and Upashama are natural duties. Only the self-control can gradually be attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Self-control means not indulging in sense enjoyment more than is necessary. And those who are not self-controlled are given over to sense enjoyment. Dry philosophical speculation is a subtle sense enjoyment of the mind. Sense enjoyment leads one to the path of darkness. Those who are self-controlled can make progress on the path of liberation from the conditional life of material existence. The Vedas therefore enjoin that one should not go on the path of darkness, but should make a progressive march towards the path of light or liberation. Self-control is actually achieved not by artificially stopping the senses from material enjoyment, but by becoming factually attached to the Supreme Lord by engaging one's unalloyed senses in the transcendental service of the Lord. The senses cannot be forcibly curbed, but they can be given proper engagement. Purified senses, therefore, are always engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. This perfection stage of sense engagement is called Bhakti Yoga. So those who are attached to the means of Bhakti Yoga are factually self-controlled. and can all of a sudden give up their homely or bodily attachment for the service of the Lord. This is called the Paramahamsa stage. Hamsas or swans accept only milk out of a mixture of milk and water. Similarly, those who accept the service of the Lord instead of the service of matter are called Paramahamsas. They are naturally qualified with all good attributes such as pridelessness, freedom from vanity, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, respectability, worship, devotion, and sincerity. All these godly qualities exist in the devotee of the Lord spontaneously. Such Paramahamsas who are completely given up to the service of the Lord are very rare. They're very rare even amongst the liberated souls. Real non-violence means freedom from envy. In this world, everyone is envious of his fellow being. But a perfect Paramahamsa, being completely given up to the service of the Lord, is perfectly non-envious. He loves every living being in relation with the Supreme Lord. A real renunciation means perfect dependence on God. Every living being is dependent on someone else because he is so made. Actually, everyone is dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Lord, but when one forgets his relation with the Lord, he becomes dependent on the conditions of material nature. Renunciation means renouncing one's dependence on the conditions of material nature and thus becoming completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Real independence means complete faith in the mercy of the Lord without dependence on the conditions of matter. This Paramahamsa stage is the highest perfection stage in Bhakti Yoga, the process of devotional service to the Supreme Lord. 23. Aham hi prishto Ryamano mahadbhi आचक्ष आत्मा वगमोत्र यावान नभः पतन्त्यात्म समम पतत्रिणस तथा समम विष्णु गतिम विपश्चितः. O rishis who are as powerful as a sun, I shall try to describe to you the transcendental pastimes of Vishnu as far as my knowledge allows. As the birds fly in the sky as far as their capacity allows, so do the learned devotees describe the Lord as far as their realization allows. Evam swabhagyam abhinandya parikshitopakhyanam vaktumaha aham hiti. So having uh, appreciated his own good fortune, he now speaks the correct verse because he wants to speak about the activities of Parikshit Maharaj. He Aryamana, he Suryaha, Tri Murtayaha. All of you are as powerful as the sun. You are the very personification of the three Vedas. I will speak as much as my knowledge allows. Just as birds, they fly according to their capacity. They cannot fly all over the sky. They can fly to whichever portion of the sky that they are capable of. तथा विपश्यतः अपि विष्णोः गतिं लीलां समं स्वम् अत्यनुरूपमेव वदत्यर्थः. Therefore, the learned souls also describe the pastimes, the activities, pastimes of Lord Vishnu according to their capacities. So this answers another question that might have been in their mind, in the minds of the audience. Since the Supreme Lord has unlimited auspicious transcendental qualities, how are you going to enumerate all of them? Why have you begun that? So he's pointing out, no, I will only describe the Lord as far as my realization allows. The Supreme Absolute Truth is unlimited. No living being can know about the unlimited by its limited capacity. The Lord is impersonal, personal, and localized. By his impersonal feature, he is all-pervading Brahman. By his localized feature, he is present in everyone's heart as a supreme soul. And by his ultimate personal feature, he is the object of transcendental loving service by his fortunate associates, the pure devotees. As birds can fly in only part of the sky, similarly, the great learned devotees can only partly estimate the pastimes of the Lord in different features. So Srila Sutta Goswami has rightly taken this position in describing the pastimes of the Lord as far as he has realized. Actually, Only the Lord himself can describe himself, and his learned devotee also can describe him as far as the Lord gives him the power of description. This will be clear from Dhruva Charit also. Okay, I'll stop with this. Panchayat Vishya Vipasya Vishya 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 Vishya